Hello everyone, and welcome to this video where I go through the grammar exercises that I asked you to do on my Facebook page yesterday. Okay, just before I start, I just want to draw your attention to these rules for using the simple tense and the continuous tense. Very often people forget about the rules, but the rules are important because they help us make the correct decision. So if we have a look for the simple tense, we use the simple tense to talk about habits, repeated actions, truths, promises, facts, and when we deal with state verbs, because state verbs cannot be used in the continuous form. We use the continuous tense to talk about actions and things which are happening now. So as we go through these exercises, bear those two sets of rules in mind. Okay, let's have a look at this first exercise from EnglishPage.com. Now, this is a contextual question. In other words, you have to read through the letter in order to work out what the context is and what the relationship is between the people and the actions and the people. Because if you can work out what the relationship is, that helps you get the right context, which means that you can choose the correct reasons, and that means then you can choose the correct answers. So let's go through the questions. Today is the second day of my trek around Mount Annapurna. Here in the letter, the person is stating a fact. What's happening on that day? So here we've got the simple tense. Is. Now, this isn't a question, but I just want to draw your attention to it. This is a simple tense, which is used to introduce an adjective, and we'll see this form in a couple of the questions in this exercise. Okay, let's continue. I am exhausted and my legs are shaking. So this is something happening at the time the person is writing the letter. So in effect, this is happening now, so that must mean that this is in the continuous tense. My legs are shaking at this time that I am writing this letter. I just hope I'm able to complete the trek. Once again, he's referring to things happening to his body now, or at the time that he's writing the letter, so this has to be the continuous tense. My feet are really killing me and my toes are bleeding. Sounds painful. But I still want to continue. Want is a state verb. Therefore, we must use the present simple tense. We cannot use the continuous tense. Nepal is a fascinating country, but I have a great deal to learn. Everything is so different. So if you remember what I said about this example here, it's exactly the same thing here. We've got present simple tense to introduce an adjective. Everything is so different. Here we use the continuous because we're talking about something that's happening. We're talking about an activity, and this activity is that he is trying to adapt to the new way of life here. He's trying to get used to it, in other words. So we use the continuous form to talk about this as an activity. And once again, there is another activity in the next part, in the next sentence. I am learning a little bit of the language. So this is something that he started and is continuing and will continue into the future. So this is the continuous voice. But now the sentence switches focus onto facts about himself. So that must mean that we need the simple tense. I don't learn foreign languages quickly. Here we've got the negative, which means we've got to use the negative in the correct form for the simple tense, which means that we need the auxiliary verb do. So I don't learn foreign languages quickly. Although I don't understand much yet. So here we need another simple tense. We're talking about truths as they happen, a truth at the moment. I don't understand much yet. We also don't use the continuous form with yet that much, or really rarely as a matter of fact. So This is another indicator that we need the simple tense. I believe that I am gradually improving. This is a continuous tense because it talks about progress over time and activity. This is the improvement which started in the past and comes up until now and hopefully will go into the future. So this activity needs the continuous tense. I am currently travelling. Currently means the same as now. So for things happening now, we need the continuous voice, continuous tense. So I'm currently travelling with Liam. Once again, we've got that simple tense to introduce an adjective and in this case a noun as well. So he is a nice guy. Now, this one was a bit tricky. If you remember the rules for the simple tense, you know that when we say always, we have to use the simple tense. But there is one exception in which we can use the continuous voice, and that the continuous tense, and that is when we're expressing annoyance or if we're unhappy with something, someone or something. In that case, we can use always and ing in the continuous tense for the purpose of expressing your annoyance. So, and that's exactly what's happening here. He is annoyed that Liam is walking ahead of him. And here we use the simple tense to talk about facts or even repeated actions, as we might understand from the context. So, and complains that I am too slow. Here, once again, the focus on the activity of his hiking over the last few days. I am doing my best. So here we need the continuous tense. Right now, once again, if we're talking about things happening now, then we need the continuous tense. So right now, Liam is sitting with the owner of the inn. What are they doing right now? They are discussing the differences between life in England and in Nepal. So here, once again, we've got the continuous tense. Fact: I don't know the real name of the owner. Know is also a state verb, so we can't say knowing. So I don't know the real name of the owner, but everyone just calls him Tam. Once again, another fact. Another fact: Tam speaks English very well. But the focus changes onto an activity, what Tam is trying to do. And in this case, Tam is trying to teach Liam some words in Nepali. The focus goes back onto what we might think as facts or even repeated actions, because it says here every time, which also indicates repeated actions. Every time Tam says a new word, Liam tries to repeat it. So simple followed by simple. Unfortunately, Liam also seems to have difficulty learning foreign languages. Why are we using the simple voice here? Because this is, I didn't put it up here either, but I'll put it up here now. We can also use the simple voice, simple tense to talk about opinions. And that seems to be the opinion of the writer of the letter, that Liam isn't doing so well. So here we would use the simple tense. It was quite a tricky exercise. I hope you managed to do quite well. So let's move on to the next exercise. Okay, this exercise was a little bit easier. There might be one or two issues with context, but let's go through the questions and see why the answers are the answers. At the moment. At the moment means now, which means continuous voice. So we need the correct form and the correct auxiliary verb to ask the question in the continuous voice. Are you doing anything at the moment? This question is really getting at a fact, and this question is really wants to try and find out what the person's occupation. So here we use the simple voice to get at facts. So what do you do? Gets the answer, I'm retired. But this question, however, focuses on an activity. Let's create the context that I can see someone walking off with a coat on, hat on, looking as if they're going to leave the house, And I would say not where do you go, because I'm not after... It would be wrong to think about this in terms of fact, but in terms of the activity of leaving the house and going somewhere else. So here we would use the continuous tense and the correct question form. Where are you going? For question number 4, once again, the focus of this question is a fact, so we use the simple tense to establish that. Do you go to the gym every day? Also, every day is a word which refers to repeated actions, so here is another indicator that we would use the simple tense. What is the answer to the question? What is the answer to question 7? Shh. This is something you say when you want quiet now. So if you want quiet now, then that must mean that we have to use the continuous tense. So here, if you want quiet now, the reason is because you are listening to the teacher. So the answer here is I am listening to the teacher. For question number 6, once again, we're trying to get at facts. In this case, times of day or locations or something like this. So because of that, we would use the simple tense to ask the correct question. When do you listen to music? What's all that noise? My neighbours are having a party. Now this is a bit tricky and the context is important here. The noise is being created now, and the noise is being created because of an action or an activity. So the question, although it's asked in the simple, we use a simple verb to ask the question, the focus of the question, or the answer of the question, really has to be answered in the continuous voice, because you're describing events that are happening now, and this event is that my neighbours are having a party. So just because a question is asked in the simple tense doesn't mean the answer has to be in the simple tense. It depends on the context. Here, the question once again tries to establish a fact. And unlike number 7, where that fact is based on an activity, which means that we need to use the continuous tense, this fact is not based on an activity. This fact is based on reality. In this case, that you have 2 brothers. So the question must be in the simple tense. Number 9, once again, we're trying to establish facts as well. Do you wear a helmet when you drive your motorbike? Yes, I have to. So here, because we're trying to establish facts once more, we use the simple tense. For question number 10, you might be wondering why it's in the continuous form. Well, the reason why it is because you want to know the reason now. And if we're talking about things that are happening now, then we would use the continuous voice. If we get a tense, if we go back to question number 3, where are you going now? He says, I'm going to the shopping centre. But for number 2, what are you doing? What are you doing would mean, what are you doing now? Here for number 2, we need to know more generally. So we would use the simple tense there. So we have to, when you're asking the question, whether it's the simple tense or the continuous tense, you've also got to bear in mind whether you want to know things now or whether you want to know things generally. So let's go back to question number 10. Why are you wearing your best clothes now? And the answer is, I have a date with a girl I met at work. Where is your sister's husband? So once again, we've got the simple tense here. Where is your simple tense? But the focus of the question is on now. So where is his sister's husband now? And what's he doing now? Well, he's doing something now, and because the focus is on an activity, or the answer focuses on the activity, we have to use the continuous tense. He is working in the garden at the moment. A general question trying to establish a fact for number 12. Where do you work? I work in a hospital. We wouldn't, if where do you work, where are you working now? We could ask that question, but the context would have to be correct. Where are you working now would suggest that perhaps you're changing jobs, or I don't know, or I know that what you were doing in the past, but I know that you're doing something slightly different now. So the question in the continuous form is correct, but the context it creates is something that you have to think about. Here, because we can see the answer in the hospital, it means that the question must be in the simple tense. I hope you didn't do badly. I hope you didn't do too badly over the two exercises. If you have any questions at all, or if you disagree with anything